So we're going to talk about fat loss strategies today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to kick things off? Is there anything in particular you want to talk about?
We can start off with scheduled eating. I think is probably a good one. So things like intermittent fasting, personal preference, that sort of stuff. I find it's quite helpful for most people. And then obviously if anyone has any questions as we go along, chuck them in and we'll answer the questions in detail as we go. So when we talk about scheduled eating, so we're talking about either pre-planning your meals or having some sort of structure to your day in terms of when you should eat your calories for you and what suits your goal being fat loss, what's going to be optimal. So you can do fasting, we can do 6 meals a day, you can do 2 meals a day. It really does come down to personal preference. So one thing I like to try and suggest to clients is, or tell them, is it doesn't matter when you eat really at the end of the day for fat loss. It's going to come down to your personal preference, but I do encourage people to try different methods and don't get married to the one method and just say that this is the one method that worked once before, because your circumstances will always change. So feel free to change up your schedule depending on your circumstances.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same way I work with clients. It's trying to find out kind of when they want to have most of their calories to start with. So the big thing in the UK is predominantly most people like to get home from work, a big meal, and maybe have a few snacks on the evening. So saving calories for an evening can be very useful in that. That can come down to having smaller meals during the day. Some people, it works just skipping breakfast completely. So intermittent fasting, taking breakfast out, just starting kind of first meal at lunchtime. But then on the other side of things, sometimes that doesn't work for people, because I've had clients in the past that skip breakfast, get to lunch, and then want to eat the world. So it's like, we have to see who this works for. Like me personally, if I diet, I don't have breakfast, because I get up in the morning, I'm never hungry, I've got loads of work to get on with. So I'm quite busy during the morning. But as I get later on during the day and kind of chill out and maybe watch Netflix or something, I do want to have a couple of snacks. So I just start eating at lunchtime. But as I said, that doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And it's kind of, the way I like to approach it is find out from each individual where they want to eat the most calories during the day. That part, then we can start putting methods in place.
Correct. Yeah. I would pretty much work exactly the same way. And on a client basis, if I find a client is constantly hungry, number one, we would check their fiber intake and see what their macros are and their protein, the rough guides. But we would then look into meal scheduling. So whereabouts are you having the majority of your calories? So if you're smashing out a 600 calorie breakfast and then you're starving all day, then you need to cut down on your breakfast and then maybe save some more calories for later. If you're then obviously not getting enough fiber, then maybe look at including or swapping more for more veggies and fruits as opposed to breads, pastas, and rices. So the smaller the tweaks, I find the better. But I'm very much in the same with you. So I usually skip breakfast, or I'll do like a coffee and a couple of sugars. And my first meal is usually around maybe 9, 10, 11 in the morning. And then I'll have a small snack and then usually dinner. And then most nights I'll even have some ice cream, just because that's what I usually do, watch TV series with my wife and we sit down. And then weekend schedule does vary. And I do find that with fasting, or if you are going to skip breakfast, I find it's much easier if you can sleep in as much as you can that day. So for example, today I had the morning off our son. So my wife got up with our son and I slept until about maybe 9:30, and half the morning was already gone. And I didn't eat until about 12 o'clock, 1 for my first meal.
Yeah, it's so much easier if you're getting up later, but if you're getting up like 6 a.m, trying to wait till 12 is pretty much of a challenge, but I think there's pros and cons to intermittent fasting. I don't think people necessarily have to stick to that whole 12 till 8 window.
No.
I don't even think it needs to be an 8-hour window. Like that could be a 10-hour window, could be 11-hour window. Like all we're doing is shortening the time for someone to eat so they can reduce their calories. So if someone wants to start their day, I know some people that have lunch at 10 a.m. because they start the day so early, like they get up at 4:30, they're out of bed by 5, and they're wanting lunch by 10 o'clock, not breakfast. So they're starting there.
I found that when I got up early yesterday, so I was up about 6:30, and then I was dying to have something to eat by about 11, 10 o'clock, like a proper big meal. And that's just the fact that I was just sleeping less and I was up earlier, and I maybe had a good 6 hours, 7 hours sleep as opposed to 8 to 9 hours sleep.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely does depend on the time that you're getting up, where your first meal is going to be. But again, that's person dependent.
Yeah. And also to touch on your topic, we were talking about where people have a very fixed window of, I fast from 12 till 8. And people will white knuckle their way through it until the clock hits 12. And then they'll be like, okay, now I can eat. If you go over slightly, either way, it doesn't matter.
And that sometimes is the reason why it doesn't. That's sometimes the reason why intermittent fasting doesn't work, because it can essentially then become in a restrictive diet, and someone does that and like literally waits till 1 minute after 12 and then smashes as much food as they can because they're allowed to eat during that time, taking the principles of calorie deficit completely out of it and just smashing in 4,000 calories between 12 and 8. So it defeats the whole object of it, really. Any other principles?
5 weeks later, like, I'm not losing weight. So aside from scheduled and structured type of eating, food choices does play a really big role, and food environment. Food environment is massive, and it's probably not something that really people talk about a lot in depth, but it is something that people do when they start dieting. So for example, if you buy chips, chocolates, lollies, crisps, wherever you're from, at some point you will eat them. You've spent your hard-earned money on them. They're in the cupboard. They're waiting for you to eat them, or until they go bad. But if it's a long life item, at some point you'll probably eat them. Things like having easy access to pre-cooked meals and fruit and vegetables is massive. So one of the tips that I learned was when you walk through your kitchen or your lounge room, is having a big bowl of fruit easily accessible and available to you, compared to say a cookie jar or something that's in front of you. So food environment is massive at work as well. So people who work with their colleagues and they have like a big cookie jar, or they have like cakes and things for lunch, you have to be really careful about how you navigate it, especially when you're hungry, you're on low calories, you want more food, and then you're just subjected with a lot of visual pleasurable food all the time. You take notice of those things more. So out of sight, out of mind, I find makes a massive difference.
Yeah, 100%. I think this especially works a bit more tricky because you don't have full control over it, but at home people will have 100% control over what's in their cupboards. So I think little things like this that I do is, like, I'll be totally honest, I have a massive, massive sweet tooth. So I do not buy, if there's never a full cheesecake in my house, because if there's a full cheesecake, I eat the full cheesecake within a couple of days. So what I'll basically do is buy a slice and just put the slice in the fridge. That's going to be fine to get that in over the next 2 or 3 days. I'm even find the same with things like, if you are going to go down the route of having Ben & Jerry's ice cream and things like that, buy the smaller tubs. You can get the smaller tubs of Ben & Jerry's ice cream in the evening. They'll get results without smashing, I don't know what's in them now, 1,500 calories in a normal tub. You can open that tub, have a quarter or half, and then put it back. So, I mean, I can't. So I understand people not being able to do that. So it's just being sensible with what you have in your environment, really.
Yeah. And I think we spoke about this last time as well. And we'll talk about hot button foods versus foods you can control yourself around. So if you have a hot button food, which mine was barbecue shapes, like if it's in the house, I will eat the entire packet. Just don't buy that food for a while. And so, for some people, it might be alcohol, it could be chocolate, it could be cake. It doesn't matter what it is. If we go out and buy donuts, they could sit on the counter and I would not even look at them twice because donuts aren't something that interests me. It's just, I find it's just a waste of calories and I would rather just not eat it at all. Whereas everyone has their hot button foods and people have foods that they can control themselves around, but you have to, I suppose, have a bit of trial and error, especially if you're new to it and you're not quite sure what your favorite foods are and what you sort of can go without and what you can't go without. And then sort of talking on your non-negotiable foods, I find that another strategy that works quite well is pre-planning in your non-negotiable foods first throughout the day and your protein, and then plugging everything else in around those essentials. So for example, for me, an essential would be a coffee, even though it's technically not essential, but to me, it's essential. I have to have a coffee every morning. So the calories for my coffee goes in first thing in the morning. It's already done the day before and I don't have to worry about it. The second thing I'd also recommend is a lot of people struggle with their protein. So put your protein calorie portions in first so you've hit your target for the day, and then work the rest of your calories around your protein target.
Yeah, 100%. And I've got a really, really good example of that. I've got a client out here and we have this running joke with everyone within his family out here. He literally has a Magnum ice cream every single day. So it's 250 calories. But what people don't see about all of this, like the guy's lost 12, 13 kilos months. And he wasn't really hugely overweight to start with. But what people don't see about his diet is he's hitting his protein target every day. He's having 2 or 3 meals a day, which every one of them include vegetables. He's then having 2 free portions of fruit every day. And then he has his ice cream. And 90% of his calories during the day are coming from great foods. But everyone's just talking about this Magnum that he's having every day while still losing weight. But what we've done was we structured his whole diet first and then put the Magnum in. We made sure all of the essentials were covered, like you said, and then you can put the little things in. And honestly, here it's been talked about so much. He still pictures and posts in WhatsApp group every day that he's having this Magnum. But it's just goes to show if you get everything else right first.
Yes, yeah. I can't remember whose quote it was, but you get your boulders in place, and then you can worry about the pebbles second to that. And that's your main calories: sleep, training, nutrition. I did have another topic, but it's just escaped me. It'll come back. So food choices is definitely a big one. And then obviously I find if you can improve in terms of your food choices, learning to cook, surprisingly, a lot of people don't know how to cook. Learning to cook for yourself is massive, because anytime you go out for any dinner, like a restaurant or cafe or anything like that, I always tell my clients, if it's a lunch meal, it's always going to be a minimum 500 calories. You don't even need to put that in. It's always going to be 500 minimum. And for a dinner meal, if you go out for a nice steak and wine, it's going to be at least 800 or more calories. And then people are like, oh, but it's lean, it's meat, and it's veggies. The way that they cook it, the oils and things like that. If you go out for lunch and it's at a cafe, put 500 calories in. If you're going out for dinner, put at least 800 calories in. And number 3, ideally try and guesstimate as close as you can beforehand and add a bit more on top of that. So learning to cook for yourself and eating your own food will put you miles ahead of the fat loss game.
Yeah, I have a bit of a rule with that as well. So if clients are eating out, even if they're tracking it on MyFitnessPal or any other calorie counter, the rule that I have is if you're eating out, whatever you track in MyFitnessPal, you then put 150 calories of oil in on top of that meal. Because, I mean, I've got a couple of chef friends and they'll openly say, like, my my thoughts when I'm making that meal are to make it as nice as it possibly can taste-wise for the person, not how many calories it's got in. So it's probably been cooked in so much oil, it's probably had butter added to the recipe to help taste. So I think sometimes 150 calories is actually being generous, but overall it probably nearly covers it if we take it as an average. So yeah, if you're going to eat out twice a day, you've got an extra 300 calories that you've lost straight away just from the way it's being cooked, if you had cooked it at home yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of brings me on as well to using, like, if you're cooking at home, using low-calorie sprays. I think you have them there in Australia, but the 1-calorie sprays we have here in India, we have them in the UK, save so many calories for people, especially if they want to cook in oils.
Yeah. We don't really have that in Australia. I mean, we've got the spray, the oil spray, but it's not necessarily low calorie by any means. Otherwise, if you don't have that, just get a really good non-stick frying pan. And that would just save you the calories from having to spray it anyway. But that's a really good tip. There was another topic I was wanting to suggest. That one's also just escaped from me. I should write these down as I think of them. Long-term dieting strategies in terms of like fad diet. So things like keto, vegetarian. Obviously, if you're not doing it for moral reasons, if it's just because it's something that someone told you that you should because it's superior. Any diet that has a name attached to it is usually going to be some sort of fad. When I have clients ask me, they're like, oh, what's my meal plan I get when I join your program or your coaching? I tell them there is no meal plan. Because here is your calories, and then you get to fit the foods that you like to eat to your specific calorie number, and then we help you adjust it up and down depending on your goals or your progress. So I find that this, number one, helps people get away from the restrictive mentality of I can only eat these types of foods and these foods will get me results. And then number two, it teaches people how to be realistic about the foods that they can eat long term. So the foods that you eat now should be the same foods that you eat when you're not dieting, just more or less of them, depending on what your goal needs to be.
Yeah, we work exactly the same, Shannon, in terms of our clients that we work with. We get that question every time before someone signs, what meal plan am I following, what diet, and trying to explain that's actually quite just like, you aren't going to be following any meal plan, you aren't going to be following any diet. We're going to give you specific calorie targets for you, and we're probably going to give you a protein target for you. Carbs and fats really don't matter. Trying to explain that in terms of fat loss as well can sometimes be tricky, but we're going to give you a calorie target and a protein target. And then we're going to help you fit your favorite foods within that calorie target and within that protein target. And then we give some meal suggestions. So like breakfast, lunch and dinner suggestions, which kind of have vegetables in, which are high in protein and quite low in calories, which will help them in terms of sticking to the calories and hitting that protein target. But other than that, it's just kind of allowing people to be quite flexible with that calorie target. And I think that's the big thing that helps people stick to it long term. Especially we have so many people saying, I don't even feel like I'm on a diet. Like, that's so, for me, that's personally weird to hear them say, but that because they've been so restrictive and with other sort of named diets that they followed in the past. But taking that away just helps mentally so much.
It's always very interesting, like, so for the clients who I train in person, because I still work in a commercial gym, when you sit down for a consultation and they're like, oh, I don't eat breakfast, I know that's really bad. And then you literally sit down and you tell them the way that we work is you can eat anything you want and still get fantastic results as long as you're being mindful.
And you can just see the mind just going, so like, what have I been doing like so wrong for so many years?
It still comes across as so surprising for some people, and I'm kind of hoping by having these chats and
Yeah.
Loads. There's quite a few very, very good coaches in the industry as well, which I know are learning from the right people, that we can actually start to bring this into the diet industry, especially if this is how it can be. Like, you don't need to be super restrictive. You don't need to be cutting out all of your favorite foods. You can still drink some alcohol and lose body fat. Like, it's to tell people these and you just watch their face, just like, it's like they've seen a ghost, and it's like, yeah, totally fine.
And it's one of those things, I wish I knew this when I first started. So
Yeah.
for people who are watching this, or if they've just found for example, our Instagram pages and they have been dieting in the past, all the information that we would be putting out now, all the tips and tricks that we wish that we knew when we first started. So I wish my whole page and my whole ethos is, if I could go back to when I was younger, because I was overweight and I lost the weight, if I could go back to me and talk to little fat Shannon and just say, this is what you need to do and just stick to this.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I repeat. And it's boring, it's not fun, it's not sexy, it's not the latest thing, but it gets you results. And that is what you want. That's what you're paying for. That's what we're going to get you.
Yeah, 100%. I noticed that from your page, actually. Mine's obviously pretty similar. Like, there's only so many posts you can do about a calorie deficit before it does get a little bit boring. But I've got kind of a, by no means have I ever always had this knowledge. Like, if we go back to late teens, very early 20s, I can still remember going to the gym 6-7 days a week, like busting a gut trying to get results. And then at that time, it was kind of the low fat fad that was going on. Like, my mom at the time was following a low fat diet. Everything in the fridge was low fat. And I can still remember coming home from the gym and having a family-sized bag of Haribos every single time, because they were low fat and there was no fat in them. So people were like, there's no fat, they're not going to make you fat. So I'd smash this bag of Haribos. I was having 6 or 7 bags a week, family-sized ones. I went and looked a couple of years ago to see how many calories was in them, and there's 1,600 calories per bag before you even have it taken any meals into account. And at this time, I was like, why the hell am I not getting in shape here? But yeah, it was just low fat, and everyone was doing low fat. So I ate everything that just didn't have fat in, but I still wasn't losing body fat. But it's because calories were through the roof. I must have been hitting 4,000 calories a day. So yeah, this has all been a learning curve, I think, for everyone. And I think it probably will still be. But I think we've got enough research, knowledge, and experience in the industry now to know that a calorie deficit to lose fat is never going to change. That's going to be the one thing that always has to be there. No matter how we dress that up in terms of a diet.
Yeah, it's the fundamental. And then even if people start to argue about, what about protein and should I have more carbs and fat, or even if high intensity interval training, does that burn more calories in this workout? It doesn't matter. You just need to get your calories in sorted. Once your calories in is sorted, then you can worry about the minutiae of all the other areas. The topic I was thinking of as well was in terms of your calorie intake. Instead of thinking of it as a very static day-to-day basis, thinking of your calories as a weekly average. So in the client spreadsheets that we have an automatic spreadsheet which calculates the average for the client. And if you are dieting on, I don't know, let's say 2,000 calories a day, if you're that lucky, and one day you have 1,000 and the next day you have 2,000, it's still going to average out to 1,500, which is going to be less than 2,000. So a good way to include social events on weekend, because they are going to pop up, especially when you're dieting. They tend to pop up more so when you're trying to lose body fat, is you can save calories through the week and you can allot them to your weekend so you can still be social. Doesn't mean you can go, balls to wall drinking and then 3 kebabs on the 5 a.m. trip on the way home. But as long as you're mindful and you're fit everything to your calories, you can sacrifice calories through the week and add them to places where you need to be more social with friends. Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest tips we can give people to fit this into normal life. Like, it's easy enough giving people a calorie target for each day, but we know that some people need more calories on different days than others, whether this can be, it might be associated with a menstrual cycle for women. Some days they wake up feeling fine, some days they want to smash calories. You've got social events on the weekend. Most people like to have, if they're going to go to a restaurant to have a takeaway, it tends to be a Saturday evening or a Sunday evening. So there's two ways I like to work with this. If you already got that pre-planned, reduce the calories during the week and save it for the weekend. But then there's the other way to do it as well. Like there's sometimes on a Saturday, like you might sit there, you get bored, someone rings you want to go out for a meal tonight. It's ad hoc. Like you don't know about it. You're going to go out, you're going to enjoy that meal. And then all you do then is just reduce your calories a few days after to pull that back in. Let's say you are 1,000 calories over that day. For the next 5 days, take 200 calories off.
Yeah.
The results will then be exactly the same. It doesn't need to be any more over the top than that. It doesn't need to be to reduce 1,000 calories the next day, which is probably just going to make you binge the following day because you're so hungry. Like, be realistic. Give yourself at least 3 or 4, 5 days to pull that kind of surplus, as we call it, back in.
Yep. And then also, I like to try and get clients to think of their maintenance is their balancing point as well. So even as a worst case scenario, let's say they're just completely chock-a-block for the weekend, and then they're just so busy that they have so many events on in a given weekend, one weekend out of the whole year. Even if they were just to hit maintenance for 1 or 2 days, they're still not gaining, but they're still not losing for those specific couple of days. But as long as the rest of the week is still in check, you're still good for a good 4, 5 to 6 days out of the week. And then you have a maintenance day, which essentially just, quote unquote, pauses fat loss for a day. But you're still not gaining anything back to what you've lost throughout the week either. So a lot of people think that as soon as they go over their low calories, that's if the diet's out the window. It's not. It's just, it's better to spend 100 calories than 1,000 calories. And the analogy I like to use is if you spend money on your credit card, if you spend $100, you don't then go and max out your credit card. You're like, no, that's stupid. People do that. They do that with their food.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well, because I think a lot of people forget that if they're dieting on 2,000 calories and that's their deficit, very likely they could have 2,500 a day and still not gain weight, because that's going to be around about the maintenance. They could do that all week. That's going to be a bad week, let's say, but they're not going to gain weight. The next week they can just go back, start on the 2,000 calories and then go from there. To be honest, that's kind of the approach I tend to take when I'm going on holiday. Like, I'm going on holiday for a week or something like that. I just aim for maintenance calories. I mean, I don't track calories on holiday. In fact, I very rarely track calories now, but I still know myself every day round about how many calories I've had. And yeah, when I'm on holiday, I'll try and have protein with each meal without counting the protein grams. And then I'll just aim for maintenance calories, which an extra 500-600 calories for someone every day can make a big difference. It can make the diet so much more easier to stick to, especially when you're on a holiday and probably drinking a little bit more as well.
And to tie into that one, I think holidays should be treated as holidays. Most people work, they're stressed throughout the year, and they're putting all this money and investment and time into going away with friends and family. They pay for flights, thousands and thousands of dollars. And then I still have clients ask me, they're like, oh, what should my calories be? What should my training be for when I go away? I'm like, no. Go enjoy your holiday and then, put on a little bit of fat. And then when you come back, you can worry about it. But, enjoy the times that are meant to be enjoyed, but don't take the piss out of it and then just get blasted every weekend with alcohol and then expect amazing results. If you're having a proper holiday, enjoy your holiday and don't worry about the food.
Yeah, my response is exactly the same. So if someone asks me that before they go on holiday, it's basically do what you enjoy. Like if you want to train on holiday, train on holiday. If you don't want to train on holiday, don't train on holiday.
Right.
With your calories and with your food, do what you want. Go and do what it takes for you to enjoy that holiday. I think the big important thing and the thing that really makes the difference with holidays is when people come back from the holiday to get straight back to it. Because I found this with clients, I found this with myself. When you come back off a holiday, actually the hardest part and what makes the biggest difference is those next 2 or 3 weeks after you come back off a holiday, trying to get back into things. It's not the week's holiday that's the issue. It's then when you come back in for another 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, you still keep smashing them calories in. So I would say just enjoy the holiday, come back, and then get straight back to it. If you can do that, it's... So what I used to do with clients as well, when I used to work in person with clients, was before they went on holiday, we booked their first session in the diary from when they came back from the holiday as soon as they possibly could. So if they were landing on a Saturday, I was getting them in the gym on Monday and we were getting started again straight away. And I think anyone that's watching this and is a client should, if their trainer doesn't ask that of them, they should book it in with them before they leave for the holiday.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, especially if you know this is the expectation from now on. And it's funny as well because, and I suppose this is a bit of another dieting strategy that we can probably talk about, but I also have quite a few people who ask, okay, so now I need to count my calories. This is what I need to do to get to my end goal result. How long do I have to do this for? And that's going to be very context and individual dependent. Some people will need to count calories on and off forever. Me, for example. Some people don't. They just go back to maintenance. They keep the results they do for the rest of their life. Awesome, more to them. There's no right or wrong. It's all going to be up to the individual and what suits their needs and their life at that time. So sometimes you can fast, sometimes you can count calories, sometimes you can't. Sometimes, you might have a month where you've lost your job, you've broken up with the missus, and life is just shit, and life just happens. It's just the way it is. So if you're trying to pile on 6 training sessions and 1,200 calories at the same time, it's probably not going to end very well.
100%.
So the take-home point, and I'm a bit of a ramble on that one, but when clients lose weight and they get that sort of slack of like, oh, you look great, but you can't keep this up forever. Well, you can, and it's up to you in terms of what you need to do to keep doing to maintain your results long term.
Yeah, 100%. I've got a little bit of a comment on that, Shannon, but I just wanted to read this comment out because it was actually really nice. I'm not sure of the person's name because the account's called Enjoy Beauty. But hi guys, we need more people of your thought process around. That is actually what we're trying to do, guys. We would love to help more people get this thought process. It's the idea of the lives. There is more and more people coming around to this understanding calories, understanding balance within life, and understanding kind of the key principles we just need to have in place, and then we can enjoy the rest of our time. Like, I know me and Shannon are both on board with this. With 80% of diet, training, life, we probably should have a little bit of a routine and process for all of this. And then there's 20% of that where you can enjoy your life in terms of whether that's going out socializing, your foods that you're enjoying, having a little bit more alcohol than normal. So thank you for the comment. We do appreciate it, and we will try and help as many people as we can. Back to your point, Shannon, on what were you discussing just then? Because it's left my mind.
So long-term adherence is going to be individual.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah. So this is a kind of a really big thing when people get to their goal and just maintaining that. I think people just need to understand as well that they can go back to maintenance calories and they won't gain weight back on that. I mean, the scales might shift 2 or 3 pounds because you've got more food volume in your stomach, or you've now got more water in your muscles because you're eating more carbs and you've got more glycogen stored. But that's not fat. Like, go back to maintenance. If you still need to track calories for a while to understand what your maintenance is and get used to that routine. Like I said, I don't track calories anymore. I've done it for so many years that I understand round about what my meals need to look like now per day to hit maintenance calories for me. And I say I don't track calories. I kind of do. I just don't put it in my fitness pal. I could still tell you my lunch today was 600 calories just by knowing what was on the plate. And I've tracked and weighed things for years. And it's just like, I know what that is. But yeah, the person has to do what works for them. Like if they've been tracking calories using MyFitnessPal to lose weight, it's probably a good idea to still do it for a little time when you're trying to maintain weight, to get an idea of what the routine and what your meals are going to look like when we're looking at that.
Yeah, definitely important. It's food choices are always going to be individual to the person, and I suppose it's funny because you'll have so many people who look outside inwards to your diet and your lifestyle and your nutrition plan and the results that you get. And I've even had clients who have come back up to me and said that, you know, they've lost 10, 20, 30 kilos and they are living proof that calories in, calories out works, and they'll have some ice cream, like you were saying, at night time, and other people will just comment on their efforts and their goals and their weight loss and be like, you're doing it wrong. It shouldn't be that way. And they're like, I've just lost 30 kilos. How does this not work?
Yeah. And I mean, that really ties into the client that I have here. He's had unbelievable results. He's getting stronger. He's got fitter. He's dropped 12 kilos. But because he's having a Magnum every day, you're like, that's really not the way you should be doing it. That's not good for your health. I can 100% guarantee this guy has improved his health. Just by losing that, by the exercise that he's been doing. And I mean, that is allowing him to stick to everything else. That one thing that he's allowed today is allowing him to stick to the rest of the diet. It's allowing him to stick to the training routine. And it's just, he has had negative comments, and I've had negative comments kind of directed towards both of us, is that isn't the way he should be doing it. It would be much better if he was having them calories from fruit. I'm like, yes, but he's also eating fruit like every day. He's also eating vegetables every day. This is what you're not seeing. You're commenting on the one thing that he's posting. You're not looking at the rest of the diet at all.
That's where you just get a little sneaky.
Yeah, pretty much. I wish I could do that a lot more, to be honest.
But yeah, I suppose to also talk on top of that in terms of dieting strategies is you do want to surround yourself with the right people, because it does make a massive difference. It does depend on your personality type as well. Like if you're the kind of person who just doesn't care what other people say, easy. You don't have to worry about what other people say. But a lot of people are affected by what other people say, especially if they're new to weight loss and dieting, and if it's someone close to them, their friends and their family. And it's all on perspective. So if people are judging you or negatively saying things about your diet, the way you look now compared to where you were before, because it does happen, just know it's more of a self-reflection on them than it is you per se. Most people are unhappy with themselves, and if you're getting results and you're working your normal 9-to-5 job and you're getting leaner, your clothes are becoming smaller, and they're not happy with them. They could be doing more effort and more with their life, but they're not. So they want to try and take it out on you. That's usually most of the time.
I have a very, very, I'm not going to say a good saying, but I have a saying on this that I've said for years. And you'll never, ever get a negative comment in terms of your weight loss and your fitness journey from someone that is in better shape than you.
Yes.
It never happens. Never, ever happens. It's always from someone that's in a worse place than you mentally and physically. And as you said, it's a reflection on that person and not a reflection on you as an individual. And I just want to mention this because I know you have it as well, Shannon. Like, if people are going down the route of signing up to online personal training and signing up to online coaching groups like we run, try and have a community group. I know you have a community group for your guys. We have a community group for ours. And honestly, from my point of view, it's the best thing we have. It is priceless. Like having those people around that understand your journey, going through the same journey as you, will be positive if you post a picture of your results and not say, like that Adele thing I've seen this week. Have you seen Adele's weight loss?
I've seen the photos, but I've heard there's a lot of negative around it, but I haven't read into it yet because I don't like to read a lot of media.
Unbelievable. So I don't read it either, but I just woke up this morning to three different DMs about the Adele weight loss. And one of them actually works in the fitness industry, which is really bad. I won't name the person, but being negative towards the fact that apparently she looked better before she lost all of this weight. And all 3 of them were based around that. Oh, she doesn't look very good. Doesn't look very good skinny, or she doesn't look very good slim. She should have just stayed. She should have just loved herself for who she was. Like, she obviously didn't if she was going down this journey. Like, some of it was absolute madness. Anyway, get yourself in a community group that people support each other and understand each other. I'm just seen Jodie's put a message. I eat cake nearly every day and I've still seen results. So Jodie's actually one of my clients. She's absolutely smashed it. So the fact that she's posting about that is a good thing. She probably follows me. I actually get some stick on social media for eating cake most days and still staying in shape. So I have no problems with her posting that at all. Like, I think that's a good thing.
And it's even just a very simple mind.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and it's being realistic. Like, if you're talking about, say for example, it's like let's say you promote cake and you're having cake and you're losing fat, and someone's like, you shouldn't be eating that, sugar's poison, blah blah blah, and they're like, well, I've lost 50 kilos or 30 kilos or 10 kilos, so this is, for me, this is the best diet ever. So this allows me to stick to my calories and for me to get my results. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one and they're going to give it to you freely. Just do not worry about what other people say. As long as you're getting results, do you, and then do not worry about anyone else. One of the, quite a funny story is one of my clients who I used to train. She was a really, really large girl. She lost 75 kilos in total.
Awesome.
And she basically lost all of her friends, all of the friends previously that she was associated with, viewed her as a changed person. So they used to go out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a given day, go out and eat, then they go shopping, go out and eat and go shopping again. And with her new lifestyle, she just couldn't do that anymore. So therefore she was changed. And correct, she is a changed person. She can't do that anymore and maintain her results. Therefore her friends didn't want to associate with her. So some of the negative comments were just basically like, you know, your collarbones are sticking out, you know, it looks disgusting. How can you like do this to yourself? And it just depends on you. So it depends on your mindset shift. And it made me laugh when she said this, because she'd just sit there and she'd be like, keep telling me how skinny I am. She's like, lay it on me. Which is, it just goes to show that, you know, it depends on your perspective on what people are saying. So as long as you're happy with your progress and your results, it doesn't matter what other people say. And as long as you're doing it within a healthy manner, you know, as long as you're not, as long as you're not suffering from an eating disorder, or, you know, extreme 0-calorie days for days on end, as long as it's healthy and reasonable, it doesn't matter. Just ignore everyone else.
Yeah, I think you touched on a very good point there as well, Shannon. In terms of change, so many people see change as a negative. And I don't know if this is just me, but I see change as a huge positive. Like, if someone doesn't say to me in 1 or 2 years that you've changed, I would take that as a negative, because I want to be a different person in 2 years' time. I want to be more educated. It's just, I want to come across as maybe he's learned a little bit more about life. I understand more of what I want about life. I think we're always learning this. So I think when someone says you've changed, that's not a negative thing by any means. Like, I think every single year we should all be changing and evolving. And so many people take it as a negative though. And so many people say it as a negative as well. Like, they'll say it to someone, oh, you've changed.
A lot of people, I suppose, just don't like big changes. It's a tricky one. And then for some reason, I don't know why, in terms of the fat loss circle, the more negative comments tend to be more associated with women and women's groups and friends than men. That's just my perspective and my experience. I never really got that much slack from guy mates, but a lot of female clients that I've gotten, it's just been like, this person I don't speak to anymore. This person has, you know, cut me out, or it's, I don't know, it's just a different dynamic with women and weight loss and the social status that goes along with it compared to what men's experiences are.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it's driven by the media as well. Like, you never really see, if you're looking, there's not there's not a magazine that's targeted at men that's just basically around weight loss and beauty. There's quite a few magazines that you can get like that for females. Yeah. And I think that's probably a lot of it that drives that as well. Just like they see that every day, people are mentioning that every day. That doesn't happen with men. We can't go out and buy a magazine that's aimed at just beauty and losing weight for men, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Probably because it wouldn't sell.
It's interesting. Well, exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say that probably would be very profitable.
I'm not saying it's a business idea for or anything, but there's just not one out there.
No, don't get on it. Any other strategies you can think of?
No, I think the only thing I want to leave it on is kind of for people to try different strategies. Like, understand what your calorie intake needs to be to lose fat. Maybe understand what your protein intake should be to lose fat. Eat some fruit and vegetables, and then try different ways of eating and planning those meals into your day to kind of see what works for you. A lot of people have never skipped breakfast because they've been told it's bad. So they don't know whether that would work for them or not. A lot of people have never ever fasted for a full day and just had a meal on an evening because they've probably been told it's bad for them. So a couple of different strategies I would advise people to try if they've never tried them before, but just bearing in mind the calorie intake and the protein intake in the process.
Yeah, that sounds good. I would probably maybe even go one step further and even say, as long as you understand that weight loss is just purely calories in, calories out, and you know what number that is for you as an individual, feel free to experiment with different styles of eating, dieting, and even the fad stuff. So for example, like keto or, low fat or low carb. Try different types of diets to just see what type of, I suppose, food grouping or just eating style resonates with you a bit better without really trying everything. So just from my perspective, from me being a coach, every fad diet I've probably tried, but I've tried it more so to go through it myself. So that way, when I have a client who comes to me, they're like, oh, I've done this diet or I've tried this and it didn't work, I'd be like, oh yeah, well, I know what that's like because I've done that before as well. So yeah, for me, it's more of a business perspective, but if you are interested in trying keto, give it a try. See what it's like to eat just basically fat and protein and nothing but for about a week or two, and see if you do or don't like it. But just know that it's not the be all end all of fat loss. It's not the magical cure, but don't be afraid to not try things. If something new comes out, give it a try, but just still understand that it's still calories. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, that's all I was just going to add to that. Like, people can try and play around with any diets they want, but just keep the principle of you're still sticking to your calories, no matter what food groups they're including. And you still get results even while they're still trying these new diets out or different diets. It's not a case of, I'm going to take a little bit of time off and try these diets. It's a case of, I'm going to try these while still getting results. And there's no reason why people can't do that at all. I think that was a really good point.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I think we'll wrap it up there, Chris.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot. If you just post that to your story, Shannon, I'll share it on my stories. That will be on yours for 24 hours. And we'll go from there.
Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on.
Nice to chat to you, man. Thank you.
No worries. Bye-bye.